Hey y'all, it's Mai with another life lesson. And there are two things that I want to be takeaways from this moment. Number one, your life has impact. Your life has impact. And number two, if you think about someone, especially if you haven't seen them or spoken to them in a long time, and if you think about them again, take action. There may be a reason. There may be a reason. And I've said this before, but I am reiterating it now because it was brought back to the surface for me yesterday. Story time. The second job that I had in life after college was at a small marketing firm here in Chicago, owned by a Black woman named Dale. Now, I don't even remember how I met Dale, but I know that I had relocated back to Chicago, my hometown, with no intentions of moving back here. But after a series of events and experiences, God was like, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be right now. So I hadn't lived here since I was a kid. And so it was, it was something to get used to. And it was different than what I had planned. But here I am, a trained journalist, trained writer, editor. But now I know I don't want to work for a newspaper. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do using these gifts and talents that I have, this degree, this training that I have. And I meet her and she's like, listen, when I sign this next client, I'm going to hire you. And I'm like, okay. I wanted to spread my wings and learn about, it was a related field, not exactly, but related marketing. And I could absolutely use my journalistic training and my writing and all of those things. And so I was looking forward to learning about the marketing business. So about a month later, I was temping. So I was moving around to different corporations through an agency. And she calls me and she says, I'm in the conference room. I've just signed the contract and I'm honored to offer you a position with my marketing firm. And I was over the moon. Oh my gosh, I could not wait to start working with her. Number one, because she was such a bright light. She was fun. She was knowledgeable. She was sassy. She was just so many things that I was looking forward to gleaning from. And I really have to pull out my journals to remember. I don't know how we met. I don't remember how we met or where we met or who introduced us or whatever the case may be. But I started working with her as a marketing assistant and it didn't feel like work. It did not feel like work. And we were all over the place. Our client, the client that she was referring to, was World's Gym, which I don't even think they're in existence anymore. The one that we worked out of was on the north side of Chicago, and it is not there anymore. But we had a great time. And, I was pretty much her assistant, just period, because she was her mom's caregiver. Sometimes we would work out of her mom's house, all of those things. And I did learn some things about the business. However, that is the only job in life that I've ever been laid off from. Yes. She laid me off. And she laid me off because that ink on that contract was not quite dry when she offered the job to me. So at the end of the day, she just simply could not continue to pay me, So I literally worked with her for probably less than a year. So we went our separate ways. I was kind of freaking out a little bit because it was so weird. Lay off and I think I was like 23 or whatever. So it's like being laid off is for old people. How am I getting laid off at 23 years old? It was just such a weird feeling, but Nevertheless, that was one of the best experiences that I had, and I was sad that that she had to lay me off, because I really could see how I could blossom in that field, in that area. So it was a little discouraging, but I bounced back. Fast forward, and we lost contact. We weren't still in contact, and the years go by. We ended up reconnecting on social media, and it by that time she had moved to LA, and had a child there. When I was working with her, she did not have children. Her and her husband had been together for a decade. They had been married for a decade, and just was, living their best lives, and did not have children at that time. But by this time she had a son. They were living in LA, and I connected with her a couple of times when I was out in LA for business. So one time, we connected for brunch, and then another time, actually the last time I saw her, she invited me to her house. Me and my mother actually were out there for business, and hung out with her for a while. Fast forward, and she just started just running across my mind. I was like, this was probably late last year, early this year, just, and I was like, I haven't seen anything on social media from her in a while. I wonder what's going on. Algorithm. So I just tried to go to her page, because we were Facebook friends, whatever. I couldn't find her page. That was strange. I mean, I'm like, okay, sometimes it happens unbeknownst to you. You're no longer friends with somebody, or, whatever. And it is what it is. You don't know. But that did seem strange that I couldn't find her page at all. Then I kept thinking about her, but I didn't take action. I didn't call. She was running across my mind, and I was so busy, distracted, doing whatever I was doing. And I didn't take it any further. I didn't think anything of it. It was just, I need to catch up with her. I wonder how her son is doing. I wonder how her husband's doing. I wonder how business. I know she was working on some projects when we last spoke and all that stuff. And until yesterday, she ran across my mind again. I was like, let me just Google her, because I can't find her on social media anymore. And when I Googled her, first thing that pops up was a GoFundMe, because she had passed away. I'm freaking heartbroken. And it's such a weird thing when you haven't seen or spoken to someone in a long time, but it's just like in the back of your mind, that person is out here in the world doing their thing, popping and moving like they always have. There's so many people that we're going to meet on our journeys, and we may be passing by them in moments, just a moment in time, or it may be months, a summer project, summer job. It might be years, but so many people. And there are going to be people that you're going to bond with, even if it was just for a moment in time. There are going to be people that you have an impact on, even if it was a brief conversation at the register. Even if it was a brief conversation in the parking lot, or a word of encouragement to, some, young person Your life has impact. So much so that if you were no longer present, there would be a void. It doesn't matter if your name is well known, up in lights, or whether it's just you being in the world that you're in. Your life has impact. And if you were to make your exit, there would be a void. There would be people that you don't even maybe remember that you said something to in the airport, that if they found out that you were no longer on this side of things, they would feel something. Because even in that brief interaction, you had an impact on them. You made an impression on them. An imprint on them. I would like for you to remember that the next time you may have a negative thought about yourself, the next time you have a question mark about whether you matter, whether what you do matter, whether you're just being matters, even if you're not doing anything. The reason why Dale had an impact on me, it wasn't because she was doing anything so super and miraculous or, all of those things. It was who she was. Her laugh, her bigness, her stories, her ambition. She had an impact on me because I was a young Black woman, fresh out of college, flipped upside down because I had never planned to uproot from where I was and to come back to my hometown that I hadn't lived in since I was a kid. My life was flipped upside down. I did not know what I was going to do, but I knew everything I was going to do, right? That period of time when it's a very, uncertain but idealistic and hopeful period of time. You're just getting started and there's all of these great things ahead for you. That's where I was. And I collide with her on my path and my journey. And she was just doing her thing. She was doing her life. She was trying to get her one client here, one client there, trying to do her business. And I was her only employee. And she maintained me for less than a year. I want to say it was probably 8 to 9 months. And then after that, she just could not handle paying me anymore. She couldn't afford me. But in that short period of time and our brief interactions after that, there was an imprint. And it's the same thing for you. And you're not going to know your imprint, your footprint, the trail that you leave behind you. You're not going to know it. But just understand that you do have an imprint. You have an impact on others. And some of them you will never know until maybe we get to the other side of things. The other thing is, don't ignore the God whispers. I truly believe that people that we end up bonding with, even if we don't know that we've bonded with them, there is a connection. There is something that we feel when they transition out of this place. That is not the first time that that's happened to me, where I either just start thinking about someone just a lot. And the time when I first started thinking about her, it was apparently about the time that she passed away, because that GoFundMe was in November of last year. And that's when she just started hitting my mind. But I was too distracted. I was too distracted. I think the lesson, as I started with, is don't ignore your spirit. Sometimes what we think is just a thought is really our spirit telling us to take some type of action. And that action may not be something that is going to change an outcome, but it may be something that you need to do, or maybe that other person needs. You just don't know. Or maybe it was just her saying, bye. See you later. See you later, Dale.